Hello, I'm Megan, and this is Rebecca, and we're here today with Sister Goals. We're so excited you can join us as we begin looking at the next 3 books in our Rory Gilmore Reading Challenge. We will be looking at books 9 through 11 that we have read together. So let's get started. Rebecca, the first book that we are going to talk about today is Reading Lolita in Tehran, a memoir in books by Asar Nafisi. This book was published in 2003. It is a memoir about Nafisi's life, who was a professor of English during the Islamic Revolution in Iran. It intertwines Iran's history with Nafisi's cohort of young students reading Western literature together secretly with that political backdrop in the foreground. So what did you think, Rebecca?
This book was amazing. I think one thing that I really noticed right off the bat is how I know nothing about Iran and any of its history. And so it's fascinating. I was talking to my husband in regards to the book, and he was like, well, Iran used to be like a huge hub for education, like one of the leaders in education. He's basically like, if you look at some 1950s photos of Iran, you notice they're look like America, like poodle skirts and jumpers and everything for women. And so I think I was quite surprised at the start of the book. Women had a lot of rights, and there was a lot open for innovation and thought, and how interesting it is that she takes the story from the start there and then just moves along and just talks about different huge events that happened in Iran during the revolution. And it was just mind-blowing. And it just is a whole new history that I never knew, that just led to an amazing story. And it's hard to read at points. I'm not gonna lie. There are points that are really hard to read about death, clubbing of students, killing of students, hiding of bodies. There is some hard topics in here. So if that's something you don't enjoy, definitely don't pick up the book. But I think it is really well done, and the respect that she pays to that, but also describes so that you can immerse yourself in it. So I really enjoyed it. How about yourself, Megan?
I really liked it. I really felt that it really was able to humanly connect you with how these political events took shape in Iran, and also just slowly seeing how that shift was happening and what that meant for people, and how people would either live with it or leave it or die from it. And so it was really interesting to me to see that history from a human perspective. Also, she is an English literature professor, and I used to be an English major in college. So I had this weird reminiscing the whole time that I was reading this book, almost connecting in that manner, as though I was feeling as if I was back in some of my college English courses. So I really appreciate the humanity that she brought to that as well. The secrecy with which her and her students met in order to have access to Western literature was fascinating. One of the ones that they look at really closely is Daisy Miller. And I know Becca and we talked about this at another time. It was not our favorite book, and it was so fascinating to read how these women respected the book so much because of the culture that they were living in and the time period that they were in, and what Daisy Miller stood for to them. So I was just really fascinating to see all these perspectives intertwined. I know, what was the other one that she integrated a lot, Becca, that we've read?
Jane Austen. So Pride and Prejudice. And then the book Wuthering Heights, I think, was the other one. Yeah, Megan is completely correct. They definitely, the way that she includes books, which is kind of fun because we read 2 of them already. So it was really cool to go back and be like, I know what she's talking about. I know what book she's talking about. And then there was one I didn't know, but it was really fun actually reading this book after having read the others. So on this book, both me and Megan gave it thumbs up.
Read it. Awesome. All right, the next one that we're going to talk about is Angela's Ashes by Frank McCourt. This is a really fascinating Pulitzer Prize winning memoir about McCourt's life of poverty as a child in Limerick Island, and it was published in 1996. What do you have to say about this,
Rebecca? This book was fantastic. It was really well done. The way that it flows, the way the author has just made it flow so easily throughout the whole novel. Like, there are hard topics because we are talking about poverty. We're talking about lack of food. We're talking about children that, you know, barely have shoes on their feet, basically wrapped together by leathers. You know, it's a tough topic. And yet again, like with the first book, it's just entered into a world that I didn't know in history had existed. He does a great job about it. He just makes it flow, like I said, just so easily. The topics, like I said, can be challenging, but because it's done so well, I did it. I enjoyed the book. I was really mad at points too. It makes you feel so invested in the family, which I think is what makes it such a good book. I would get so mad and so frustrated by what was happening because I just cared about the family. And I love the only thing that's not my favorite, and I know my sister and my mom wouldn't agree with me when we did the book club on this, but, you know, the ending was a little strange for me. It was, I don't know. It wasn't my, like, cup of tea necessarily, but the rest of the book didn't hinder me from the ending of it. But if you're one of those people that reads, like, the last couple of pages of a book to see if you're going to read it, like, I don't necessarily think that's a good way to do it for this book. But how about you, Megan?
Yes, I really liked it. And then just to pick up on your point there, so McCourt did write, I believe, another book after this. I believe he's got 2 other books beyond this. We will double check that for you. Check out our blog. We'll have the full story in there. We've also got a New York Times piece about his obituary that when he passed, they wrote a fascinating piece on his life and some of his other works that he did. But yes, it ends a little bit abruptly. You're correct, but there's more to the story if you want to find out what happened in his life. The thing that I just love, and you guys know this, I talk about it a lot. I love when an author can just get you into a character's head or do their voice. And it was here. You really see this from McCourt growing up from about age 4 to 20 something, early 20s. So he really, I mean, at the beginning of the book, you feel like you're in the mind of a 4-year-old boy, and everything is just from that perspective, poverty from that perspective, and you grow with him to an adolescent, and you can just feel what an adolescent boy living in poverty in Ireland would have felt at that time, and his perspective shifts so well as he ages. And I just think that was the true power in the novel for me, and how I connected so well with him. It's really fascinating. He wrote this book when he was already in his 60s. So, I mean, this is his first book. He was already really able to just put you back in that time. And it was fascinating. So, highly recommend that one. Anything else?
Well, just that both me and Megan, thumbs up. We recommend this.
Do it. Read it. It's awesome. And then if you like it, read the other ones too. There's some more. The next one we're going to be talking about is Bel Canto by Anne Patchett. So this is a novel about hostages, terrorists, opera, all rolled up into one. Patchett was actually inspired to write this story by an actual news story, but this is a work of fiction that humanizes a very lengthy hostage situation of a famous opera singer and some other very powerful political players, and it's set somewhere, they don't say where, in Latin America. What did you think, Rebecca?
It was a great book. It was a really great book. I think at first it was a little slow starting off, but then when you really dive into the hostage situation and when they're taken and what happens, and how the government's responding. And it just kind of is fascinating in the regards of the way they put it in, that they're like, oh, they're not going to hurt you because these are very wealthy individuals from different countries as well. So they're in this party, this birthday party that was going on. There's people from Germany, there's people from France, there's people from America, there's people from China. I believe there's even some Japanese as well. So it's a very culturally diverse book. And then actually it follows, a huge part of the book is following an interpreter that becomes kind of a central character in this novel because of his languages. And, you know, he basically becomes indispensable to the people that took all the hostages. What would that word be? Why can't I think of it? But it's really well done. And it really makes you see how, I mean, let's be honest, they're kids, really young kids, some of them young adults, and how they got roped into this situation, how this situation failed completely what they thought it was going to be, and how they had to adapt. And the ending of the book, could it have been any different? I don't know. But the way the author writes the fiction is really well done. You start to feel for the characters and maybe dream of what could be, which I think is good. What about yourself, Megan?
Yeah, I think typically this is a situation where you would say these are the good guys and these are the bad guys. And she just knocks down all of those barriers. There's no labels here. There's really hardly anyone you can dislike in this book despite this situation. Like, I don't have a character that I came out loathing from this book, even though that situation is going to set you up for, you know, typical bad and good. The world that's created in this space and time was just fascinating. And then to see the connections that are forged between characters out of this very unique, terrible, extreme circumstance, it's fascinating if you want to look at human interactions and just seeing how people find connections in these hardest situations that you could probably find yourself in. And very powerful. The world she creates was very powerful to me, with no clear lines. And I like that. I like that you can't tell who's who. Just, these are people. You know, I think that's really important. So anything else you want to add?
And I think we just both want to say then, I think we are thumbs up on this one as well. So just to conclude, everyone, I mean, I think this has been a very positive Rory Gilmore review right now. The book club has been very positive today. So these are some great novels. If you haven't read them, we highly recommend that you do. They have definitely enhanced our lives and made it really reflect on different topics that we haven't thought about before, haven't explored before, haven't thought of two sides of a story that are always there. So definitely think about taking them. Comment down below if you've read any of them, anything that popped out to you. And as always, we are Sister Goals. And if you can like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for being us today, and have a wonderful day. Bye.